Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another mini DLC episode of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's underwater with me today?
I'm Bill Tucker, host of A Gamer Looks at 40.
Welcome back, as always. You're on the show all the time anyway.
Thank you.
And I am Joseph Butler, but please call me Joe.
And welcome back. God, when did we? I should have looked this up. We covered BioShock 2 a few months ago. That was the one part I was not prepared for. I was like, I should have people watch. So if you're listening to this, we're going to be covering the BioShock 2 Minerveras Den DLC. So just to be warned that there will be spoilers for BioShock 2, spoilers for this. If you haven't listened to our BioShock 2 episode, you should. That was episode 143, came out on October 3rd. God, so it's been about 4 months since we played the first one. So, and then our BioShock 1 also came out in June 6, 2021, episode 126. So check that out too. And so what we're here to talk about today is the download. I unplugged my mic. We're here to talk about the DLC, which came out the same year BioShock 2 came out, which was 2010, but came out in August, where the game came out, and I think it was February or so.
Something like that, yeah. Again, we should be way more prepared for this. There is a thing called Wikipedia where we can gather these facts in a very easy and convenient way.
Yep, they were open. It's just that when I pulled up my microphone, everything went to shit.
It's okay, it happens.
Whole brain just went. But yes, so February. I'm not a big fan of DLC. I used to buy a ton of them when they were on sale. I'm like, I'm going to play those one day. And then I never, ever did. So I actually never played this before until this week, even though I bought it multiple times. What is your history with it, Bill?
I didn't play it also when I originally played BioShock 2 way back when it was kind of sort of released. I played it for the first time after we played BioShock 2, actually, for the show. And I said, I wonder if we're going to do the DLC on the BioShock 2 episode. I should probably knock it out just in case. And so I did, because I actually had an extra week to play it before the recording. And man, is it good. I've heard nothing but good things about it. And I really think this is an excellent DLC. We'll talk about it. But it does a lot of things right. And it really presents a different angle to the BioShock story, which I think DLCs need to do. But we'll talk about it. But that was my history with it. And then I kind of, before this recording, just kind of ran through bits and pieces of it. Kind of opened some old saves and just kind of did like 10 minutes on each save just to kind of refamiliarize myself.
What about you, Joe?
This is my first time playing it. It was a little weird. I really didn't know what I was walking into. But I had a lot of fun, I guess. It was a DLC without giving away everything. I like the story a lot more in this one than the actual main story, I guess. BioShock's known for its absolute twist, and I'll give this one, it was pretty good. So I liked it.
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
This was also my first time playing it, but I liked it. Like I came into it not expecting much. I unfortunately didn't play it right because I rushed it because I was trying to beat Sonic Adventure, or what the hell was I trying to beat? I was trying to beat whatever Batman Arkham Origins, which is the episode I'm about to record tomorrow. This will be a month after you heard this. But so I was doing that, and then I just wasn't playing this game. So Thursday night came, and I'm like, shit, I gotta play this. So I rushed through it, which is not the right way to play this because I was in a hurry. But I did enjoy it. I mean, it's been a while since I played BioShock 2. I was a little unfamiliar with how to play. I got my ass handed to me early on in this game, and I'm like, I don't like this. And then I remembered, oh yeah, the game has adaptive difficulty. Let's turn that off. I think that's what was happening because things were really hard to kill at first, like very quickly.
Good.
And I was like, this doesn't feel right.
I keep forgetting these games have adaptive difficulty.
Yeah.
Same. I never remember that. Is that automatically on?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, really? Okay. I see. That's the thing. I never realized that. Okay.
But I mean, if you just got done playing BioShock 2, you'd be more in the system of how you're playing. I couldn't even remember what key to hit in order to get to when you have the little sister to show where they're supposed to go find the body to harvest. I could not remember the key for the life of me. So my solution was just kill the little sisters because I couldn't remember the key and didn't want to go through it.
Wow. So you were an evil person on this.
Yeah, not by choice, but by laziness. Yes. Because I'm like, I don't have time to go and do this harvesting thing again. Because I had forgotten about the harvesting thing, and then as soon as I started up this game, I'm like, oh god, this again. I'm like, well, fuck this shit. And I did it with one sister, then the rest just were murdered, turned into leeches.
The harvesting is so fun. I mean, I don't know. I know we talked about last time. I don't think, Joe, you were too hot on the harvesting, but
nope.
Man, yeah, I love like just setting up the room, and all the rooms are very conducive to setting up your traps. Although in this one you don't get as many toys, and we'll talk about it.
I liked it last time in BioShock 2, but this playthrough, because I was so short on time, I wasn't interested. That wasn't the game's fault. That was my fault for not starting this earlier in the week and waiting. So I don't blame the game for that.
Right.
That was just a me thing where I was just constraints. Plus, I just had a lot going on this week. Didn't want to play.
Again, there is this thing called COVID, which is ravaging everyone's homes. So it's causing problems, obviously. But I think we can kind of get into the nuts and bolts of it. Maybe it's the big thing with this DLC is it introduces I think one new weapon, one new plasmid, a couple new enemy types, which I think is good. I like when DLCs add some stuff, but keep the core of it, and you receive things in a different order. So one of the big things in this is you get telekinesis first. That's your first plasmid, if I remember correctly.
It is, and that also bothered me because I love the shocking ability, and the fact that I didn't have that upset me.
Yeah, most people do like the shocking ability best, and you don't get that till like halfway through, which is really, really different. I love that. I think it's a good opportunity to give you a very powerful plasmid, which telekinesis is very powerful. You learn how to use it. A lot of the game is really no issue. Because you can throw anything, basically, especially anything that explodes. Other dead splicers are really good for throwing, so it's good. And you start with the ion gun, which is brand new to the DLC. It's kind of like this steady damage laser that kind of burns through ammo pretty quick. Kind of like like a flamethrower almost, but direct laser beam. Fine. Better than the rivet gun, so there's that.
Oh, the rivet gun is still useless to me. I got it, of course. Totally I never liked it. It just isn't powerful enough for what it is.
So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't find I think it was like the Gatling gun until like the very end of the game.
There's a Gatling gun in this game?
Yeah, you can find ammo for it.
Oh, I did not find it then.
Yeah, there's the only thing you don't get. I guess they replaced the slot for the camera because it's a DLC and it's short. They replaced the camera with the ion beam, which I did love. It's such a neat weapon.
It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't find it until I think the very last part when you're fighting enemies, and I think one enemy's dropped one. I was like, "Oh, cool! Now I have one. Now I'll just use this for the rest of the playthrough."
Yeah, basically, right.
I think I didn't find it at all.
Yeah, no, it definitely. Like you said, it kind of you have that little end game weapon, which is nice. I mean, you get the rivet gun after you get the shotgun. Like, there's no reason for a rivet gun after you have a shotgun.
I didn't get the shotgun until way later.
Really? Okay,
yeah,
maybe my order's wrong.
I love the shotgun. I was upset when I didn't get the shotgun because I got it midway through this, probably in the second area by the time I finally found it.
That sounds about right.
I also didn't explore as much as I normally would because I was rushed. I was just another thing that irritated me with this game. That wasn't the game's fault. This is again my fault because I was rushed. But the fact that the arrow isn't there all the time. There's a good chunk of the part where you're just running around trying to find a plasmid and you don't have the arrow. And I was like, come on, I want to know where to go. And again, not the game's fault, just me rushing because I procrastinated.
Well, it's okay. And I do like it. I like when it takes the little training wheels. Not training wheels. That's a bad way of saying it. But I like when it kind of opens it up and say, hey, just find it. These environments are not that big. It's kind of like, just run around in circles for a bit. You'll find the thing we're looking for. And it's going to be glowing yellow. So it's not going to be hidden in the environment anywhere. You're not going to be pixel hunting for the plasmids.
It's not going to be a clip hidden inside a birdcage right next to a stairwell?
No.
Someone got that joke out there.
I didn't get that joke. What was it?
Resident Evil 1 GameCube.
Okay.
There's 2 clips in the birdcage in one of the early rooms that you wouldn't. There's no significance that they're there other than the guy told me to click the button and they're there. So I don't miss that age of gaming. I like because in this game you can turn off the glowing items. I make everything glow. I want everything to be seen, so I don't miss it.
Same.
Sure.
Because that's how I play.
Yeah, it's fair.
I also use the drill a lot in this game. I was really a fan of the drill. For when I first started this, I didn't use the laser cannon that you get because I didn't think it killed fast enough. So I just used the drill constantly until that was no longer an option because I just I wasn't having fuel and it wasn't going well. And I had to finally start using guns actually. Well,
you see, Mike, fun fact, the laser has a fire option and people are weak to fire. And that's usually what got me through most of it.
Okay. I didn't. Yeah. I saved all the extra ammo until the end of the game for some reason because it's me.
as most people do. My thing is if I find ammo I don't need, that's a cue to me to actually use that ammo. It's like, oh, I have a lot of phosphorus buck and I have full up and I can't take this. Let me just use phosphorus buck for a little while, and that's kind of how I try to play it.
That's how
I always have. Yeah, I always have just enough ammo for everything because I want to use all the toys. It's the thing I'm trying to do now.
I also didn't like it that the plasma that you do start when you get telekinesis and you get the security one, which I have never used in any of the games. I don't like.
No,
So I was
okay.
also just upset that I wasn't getting my plasma. I didn't get the freeze till a little later. I didn't get the fire. I didn't get any of the plasmas that I like to use because I'm also very one-sided in BioShock games. I only use the one type of plasmas. I don't switch around. It's just how I play. Not right, but it's how I play.
Is there ever truly a right way to play video games, Mike?
Yes, in a game like this, the true way would be use the different plasmas that have the advantages for the areas that you're in and actually experiment and do different things, not just stick with the one thing and not change it all.
So I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot I was playing BioShock 2. And when I did all the little sisters, I forgot it's like the game goes, oh, here comes a big sister, and I was like, oh, the game didn't tell me this would happen. I'm not ready.
I was wondering if they were going to show up because this game is broken in 3 areas, and only 2 of the 3 areas have little sisters in them. And in the first area, I got all 3, and I was like, I wonder if they're going to do Big Sister. All of a sudden, the music starts do, and I'm like, oh, yep, it's coming. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't even say she's coming. She just shows up and starts trying to kill me, and I'm like, oh, here you are.
Well, you get that weird like refractive thing that happens. That's kind of your cue that Big Sister's coming. And that's what I love about this DLC. It's just BioShock 2. If you like combat in BioShock 2, it's here. And if you like Big Sisters, it's here. If you like harvest things, it's here. And I never even thought about it. You just harvest the little sisters and ignore the defense sections. But again, setting up traps and cyclone traps and all that fun stuff is still here. So all that core is still here. It's just more game with some extra added little things bolted on and a really, really good story, I think. That's obviously a very personal story, which we'll talk about.
Because that's
the
big draw of this DLC.
Most people are here for that, yeah. I want to talk about the new plasmid, which is Gravity Well. It's not great. It's not great. I mean, it's neat in concept, but poor in execution. Because the problem is that your enemies are generally really fast. So if you throw it, and enemies in this game don't really crowd either. I felt like they swarm, but they didn't really crowd, which is what that weapon would be good for. Just in case you never played, Gravity Well is you throw a mini black hole, and it creates a little mini black hole where enemies will get sucked up into. They don't die, they don't do damage. They just kind of sit there, and then you can just pick them off really easy with whatever weapon you have. It also opens doors, so it's really a key, and that's why you get it in the first place. Is just to open electromagnetic doors. Joe, what did you think about Gravity Well?
Oh, I loved it. It was so silly.
Oh,
like, yeah, like it was silly using. That's the only reason why I like using it, because you throw it and the enemies just go woo.
Oh, it's extremely silly. I mean, my silliness is Cyclone Trap. That's why Cyclone Traps are fun because it's just very comic-y, like Looney Tunes, whoop, 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 and then they fall and hurt their heads. It's great.
Yeah, Cyclone Trap's always best.
Oh man, do I love a Cyclone Trap?
Was that in this game?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I guess I didn't buy very many plasmids. I was just doing I bought the ones that I like, and that's all I used.
I also messed around with Winter Blast a little more in this time around when I was just playing through it a couple nights ago just to refamiliarize. That is a pretty fun mechanic. I actually like that. Freezing and then smashing with your drill is actually a pretty fun thing.
It is. It's not as good as it was when I was playing BioShock 1 or BioShock 2. I felt like they didn't smash as well as I liked, but yeah, it was cool.
Winter Blast will always be my favorite. I love breaking enemies into tiny pieces with a shovel.
But then you don't get items.
Oh, is that the problem? You don't get items?
You don't get items when you break them in ice.
Hey, you do.
You do?
Oh. Yeah, they'll drop like little lock boxes and stuff sometimes. Sometimes.
Oh. Okay.
I didn't freeze very many people. It was mainly the people that you found that were already frozen in the game that I just broke. They didn't have any items.
What was with the vacuum bots? Did anyone get all 5 vacuum bots? And is there a thing? I know they drop doodads, but
what's the vacuum box?
Vacuum bots? And then nobody else knows the vacuum bots?
I know what you're talking about, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I rushed this. I just have to keep putting that out there.
I think one drops a tape that talks about something, but I don't remember what it was. It might have been a tape. No, it might have been a tape about the robotic little sisters.
Yes.
But
yeah, that's a great moment, by the way.
Yeah, but I couldn't find all of them. I wasn't bothered trying to look for all of them because I was very out of it playing this entire game.
Oh yeah. Sorry to hear that. That's right. Ugh.
Yeah.
That sucks. I mean, so Mike, did you come across? We can talk about environments now too, because that's really the only thing that's different. Are some of the weapons and extra plasmid? I think there's like an extra tonic that I don't remember. That I don't think I used.
Maybe there were like some of the extra like just ones that help a little bit, but I don't remember anything that stood out. I would just grab them as they came. I didn't really pay attention.
Right. The ones so the environments, of course, is pure BioShock, and this will lend into the story a bit. There's one area though that I think is actually geniusly made, where, and this is again more phenomenal environmental storytelling and kind of that immersive sim stuff. There's a moment where you crawl into like a little hole, because you can see a little hole. So you kind of crouch and crawl into this little space in the wall. And as you emerge from the other side of the wall, there's this like doll looking at you, this doll little sister just staring at you with blank doll eyes. And you walk into this room and it is covered with little sister dolls, like little sister, they're robots. And they're just staring at you. It is so creepy and good. And there's liquor bottles strewn everywhere, like full of liquor bottles. By the way, I think on this playthrough, they give you the, if you drink liquor, it actually restores your health. And I think I use it. Yeah, there's a plasmid or there's a tonic, I think, that allows you to, if you drink alcohol, it actually restores health and Eve. So you kind of turn into the village drunkard. You just sit there and just drink all the vodka you want and just like, I think you'll still get wavy-eyed. But
I got completely drunk once in the game.
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, fantastic. It's great. Anyway, so you walk into this area and the audio log there is some inventor who, I guess Andrew Ryan, commissioned to make robotic little sisters. And they made like this whole production run and then scrapped the project. So he's all on the audio log just hammered like, listen, I guess you thought the robotic little sisters would be better than Big Daddies. It's oh so good. And there's no threats in here. It's just there for environment and for creep factor. Very good.
Also, the room's completely like hidden to like prove that the whole thing was a failure.
Exactly. It's completely hidden. Yeah, it's so good. Any other standout areas for you?
I do think that the robotic little sisters is my favorite part because it's a reference to another BioShock game.
Which one?
BioShock Infinite.
Well, I mean,
I don't even remember these robotic little sisters.
You don't have to run into them. You have to kind of poke at the edges a bit to find it. So if you were speedrunning it, you didn't see them. Yeah, if you speedrun it, you'd find it.
I think one's holding a plasmid though, isn't it? That you need.
That doesn't mean I found it.
I guess.
Is it?
Yeah, it's holding like.
That's in a different area. That's in the office of the guy that's in the section with the crane. You have to kind of like move the crane over to get across to the other side of this long chasm. The chasm, yes.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, there is a little robotic little sister holding the plasmid, but that's in a different office. It's not the one that's covered in.
Was this in the second area? Because I explored the first.
So.
The second, I rushed through more, and that's where I didn't even find all three sisters in the second area. When the game told me, "Are you sure you want to go on ahead?" and I'm like, "Yes, I do." Bye, game. Okay, I might have to replay this at some point because I feel like I missed a lot.
No, this is a kind of game. Again, you're here for the story. You're here for my problem with these games and all the BioShock games really is I get lost in the story because I'm having so much fun doing emergent things in the environments. So it's like, oh, get the computer code, and I just forget when I'm getting a what? Oh, here I'm at the shiny yellow thing. I'll hit the button. What am I supposed to get? Oh, a computer code. Sweet. Like I lose that narrative thread because I'm so busy poking at the edges and trying to this took me about. This is gonna sound crazy for a DLC. It took about 6 hours to play. I'd have to check my play clock on it, which is a long time for a DLC of this nature. But I'm always just poking at the edges. I have to.
That's good though. I mean, that's the thing about Minerva's Den is you are given this playground to run around in these areas that you were never at before because they're a different part of Rapture that you never got to. And I love the fact that
totally secluded,
Rapture is this giant city underwater. And that in each game you're going different parts of it. I do love that idea. And I love seeing how insane this place got. Because this takes place after BioShock 2, I think, already happened, or at least during, or right somewhere around then, but it happens after BioShock 1 had already happened. And Ryan's already gone.
Yeah.
I don't remember the timeline for how all these take place, though.
I want to say the DLC takes place after the ending to 2 because of what happens at the end, and we'll get to that once we get to like the ending.
Okay, I think you're right.
Actually, I think I read it happens concurrently.
That probably makes sense too.
Oh,
it happens because you're not playing as Subject Alpha. You're playing as Subject Sigma, which is just you're not playing as the character from the Big Daddy from BioShock 2. You're playing as a different Big Daddy who was sent on this mission. I guess maybe we can segue into the story now.
We can.
But yeah, I don't know if who wants to take on that piece. Yeah, go for it.
You play as you wake up because you were almost murdered by somebody, if I remember correctly, and you're found underwater. Then I think it's Tenenbaum, who's in the first game, revives you, also briefly in the second game. And then you're subject Sigma, and then you're sent to go to start trying to get into Minerva's den. And I think it's CM Porter talks to you pretty early on, to like one of the first voices you hear as you're digging through the water, which I liked that you started underwater. And it was cool that you're a big daddy. Like that was the whole like kind of, it was nice. I like being a big daddy, even though they're not that much different than how Jack was in the first game. I still like it.
Well, isn't like the whole point of like the big daddies from these games is that they're supposed to be smaller because they can use plasmids or something?
They're supposed to be smaller. Case? I know that.
Okay. I honestly don't know. Yeah.
I mean, you don't fight really any giant big daddies from the first game or the second game. You fight smaller big daddies in this game too that are annoying.
Yeah, the little alphas. Yeah, those guys are. I think you said it last time, but they're pretty chumps. Those little alphas. They're not much.
No, they're not as cool as the big daddies in the first game.
Well, they're alphas. They're version 1.0s. So I mean, that's fine.
Yeah,
we improve upon the formula.
It didn't bother me. It just they're not as threatening as the first game.
My favorite part. What's the main bad guy's name in this?
Wall.
Reed.
Yeah, Reed Wall.
Yeah. Reed Wall is such I always like looking at stories, and one of my things about stories too is you always have to have a really good bad guy to make a really good story. And Reed Wall is such a chump. Like the whole plot of like having a supercomputer and then being like, we can use the computer to tell the future, and it's like, and Porter's like, that's not what the computer is for. Like, stop trying to get me to make you money. And and then he ends up like throwing him under a bus and like trying to like rub it in your face. Like the computer will tell me, what's going to happen next to you, Sigma. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day. But then like he has like these wavering lines, like when you pick up new weapons, he's like, uh-oh, you just changed the algorithm. Now I don't know what to do.
Yep. It's a really good conceit because he does come off Reed Wall. So to kind of back it up a little bit is that Reed Wall and Porter were partners, and they developed the Thinker, which is this massive supercomputer that basically manages most of Rapture's automated systems. Porter had had higher ideals for the machine, as well as some other intentions, which we'll talk about. And then Wall, of course, like you said, he wanted to create, and I'm just reading this off the screen here, but the predictive equation, which is basically, hey, I want to be able to predict the stock market and predict,
football
futures
games and
football game. Right, exactly.
Gamble.
Yeah, I just wanted to be, Biff from Back to the Future too, I guess. So the sports almanac. So so he kind of, and because he's splicing, and in BioShock, people go crazy by splicing. It's a very convenient conceit, a story driving mechanic, but it works. He kind of goes rogue, and he basically frames Porter for being I forget what it was, being disloyal or something like that. So they
sided with Fontaine.
That's it. He started with Fontaine, and then they take him away and send him down to, I guess, Persephone, which is which is basically the jail, the prison system.
And then they turned him into a big daddy and brainwashed him.
Yep, as they did with everyone in Persephone. That's kind of what big daddies are, right? They're the prisoners that are what happens. So like everybody else, right? He got turned into a big daddy and brainwashed.
Which is pretty fucked up.
We were talking about the recordings. Did y'all have a favorite recording? Because I know what mine is.
I gotta think through it. I don't. I listened to. Of course, Mike.
I was in a rush. Normally,
I know you were in a rush, but see, Mike here. I just gotta stop here for a second. Mike, you can listen to the recordings and walk. Like you can still.
No, I know. That's what
the environment.
I normally do. Like I said, I had a lot going on this week. My wife had COVID, and I was just like not thinking. I'm like, okay, I just gotta shoot things and get through this. And it wasn't the right way to play it.
That's fair.
Caveman brain.
I have to I only listened to a few because again I didn't play it fully this week. I just kind of bought my way through it. The saves I had from a few months ago. I do love the audio log when that kind of addresses racism, where Porter says that somebody said, "Why don't you turn yourself into a white man instead of a black man?" And he has this very dignified, defiant answer, which I really, really appreciated. It's amazing how BioShock 2's DLC treats racism with a little more tact than all of BioShock Infinite. That's another story altogether.
Soon.
Michael forced me to play that game at some point.
Yes, next month.
Next month. Well, it's February. It's a time of love, not hate.
It's the end of February. when we got the recording.
Fine. It's fine. Anyway, I like that one a lot. What stood out to you, Joe?
There's one where you find one from Andrew Ryan, and he's super pissed, and he's like, "Which one of you thought it was a good idea to make me a giant bronze statue? People are gonna think I have money." And it was just really funny and out of nowheres.
Oh, how funny! Yeah.
Oh, one of the little things that I liked in Minerva's Den, multiple times you see mine written in blue paint on stuff, where it would have said Minerva's and he just wrote mine instead. I really like that, actually.
That's good. That's good.
I enjoyed the whole, like, you're being sent by CM Porter to go down here, because CM Porter's the guy that worked as Reed Wall, and you don't really know what's going on exactly yet. But I did like that. I thought the story was pretty good. I actually, after I finished playing this last night, I watched multiple videos that explained everything. Since I rushed, I still wanted to know, because people have always talked about how great Minerva's Den is. I'm like, well, it was fine, but it's because the story is so good. And if you absorb it the way you should and go through and read it, listen to the diaries, and like what the game does to you is another mindfuck that BioShock is known for. Yeah.
And the other side of it too, as we're getting closer to kind of the ending there, is that Porter has a wife, Lily. Am I right on that?
Pearl.
Pearl. Thank you. Yeah, wife Pearl was passed away in one of the I think it was one of the Blitzkriegs in the 40s.
40s, World War II, when they blitzkrieged London.
Thank you. See, I asked our resident historian to clarify. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I didn't actually know what the Blitz was, and I was like, I thought they were talking about whenever, like, the start of the war of Rapture. I thought that's when she died, but that's good to know when it was. Thank you, Mike.
She died in the 1940s when Nazi Germany was blitzkrieging London. They kept bombing London every single night for, I think it was a few months, because they were going to stop London, even though all they did is go underground and they survived. But that's what he's talking about, was the blitzkrieg, if that's what that was. Or blitzkrieg is actually when they first attacked London, but also the blitzing was when they were constantly bombing London. And that's when she died during that, because CM Porter was part of the team that worked with Alan Turing to make the machine that broke the coding for the Nazis.
And I really like, yeah.
Turing also was murdered, and well, not really murdered, but yeah, he had a not good outcome in the end.
He did not. No, he did not. I love how this DLC, I think more than the other BioShocks, connect to the real world as well. It gives you some grounding. I really like that. He mentions again Turing, and he mentions again, of course, the Blitzkrieg that killed his wife. I love the fact that it grounds it so well in the. It makes Rapture feel more real.
And the whole reason
we have these references to real things.
He comes here because of World War II and because of what they did to Turing after the war, when they just pretty much led to his death. He left and lost faith with with humans, and like, okay, I'll come down with Andrew Ryan to this, paradise in quotations. So it makes sense. I agree with you. I love the fact they put the history in there with that. I also was not expecting a Turing reference in this game, so I was like, oh,
no,
cool.
Neither was I, actually. Yeah, not really.
Have you ever seen the movie with Benedict Cumberbatch about Alan Turing?
I'm a big Cumberbatch.
Okay, I can't remember the name. That's a great movie.
Of course, I'll follow that man anywhere. Kidding me?
Even into the multiverse of madness?
Even into the multiverse of madness, yes.
I'm so excited for that movie.
Same. But it was cool. Like, the story is what's really powerful about this game. I think that's why people remember it so well. Somehow, I had not been spoiled on this story at all in all the years since this came out, which is like, over 10 years. I had no idea what the twist was. This is one of those things where I just somehow stayed oblivious to, which I'm kind of impressed about when that happens. Because I live on the internet and I live in gaming places, yet I never knew this story.
Yeah, I same way, same thing. I didn't really know about it. The one thing I think we should kind of just touch on real quick before we kind of encroach on the ending, because again, this story, the game's very straightforward as far as the linearity of getting where you need to go. It's just ferrying you from place to place to place. Got to pick up a signal beacon for this, to pick up a code for this. The whole idea is that your job is to get the programming code from the thinker and then deliver it to Tenenbaum. That way she can go up, and of course, Porter, you think, you assume, can go up and basically recreate this on the surface. That way, and their goal is to find a cure for the Rapture disease, as they call it, which is like the splicing disease, which turns people crazy. Hey, let's make these things, responsibly, so people can get more benefits and not turn into raving psychopaths. So that's kind of the point as a part of his grief, though. And I love the way this game struggles or deals with grief, is that he's actually adding his wife into the code of this thinker.
Yeah,
and
playing the audio tapes for the computer. He's feeding in all about her information. He tells the computer about it. So he's trying to make the computer become her.
Right. There's one audio log where he's talking to the computer turns on, and he refers to it as my friend. And that is so sad. And I just want to take this one moment to state the voice actor for Porter might be the best voice actor in the entire BioShock series. The entire series. I mean, better than Andrew Ryan, better than Dopey Nolan North. I think that's who it was in Infinite. Better than Elizabeth. The best. Such a nuanced, beautiful performance. There's so much emotion in those audio logs. It's just textured and it's just gorgeous. It's my favorite vocal performance in the entire series.
No, it was good. It's a very good job.
Man,
I like that.
Who is that guy?
I was impressed by it. I also enjoy how, as you're going through Minerva's Den, you'll see CM Porter's portrait in places and traders written underneath it in paint.
Yeah.
I love the relationship of the two of Reedwall and like how, he was his partner and the whole idea that, I know we mentioned it, but like, because CM Porter wanted to use the Thinker and kind of become, as time's progressing, he's trying to make it become his ex-wife that died. And that made Reedwall upset, not to mention the fact he was on drugs, many, many powerful gene splicing drugs. So it wasn't okay. But it does such a good job of like pushing you along. I just didn't like, one thing also I didn't like personally is that it made you have to go and get a lot of different plasmids. Like in the game, as I mentioned earlier, didn't tell you. So that bothered me only because I was in a rush. So the maps aren't that big and and everything is pretty centralized. You can figure out what the hell you're missing. But when you're in a rush, it's not fun. But the story is the big drawing point for this though. Like, we're getting near the end, so I think it's us time to talk about kind of where it goes. So spoilers.
Yeah.
You fight Reedwall finally, which I liked it. You finally got to kill the guy that's been giving you trouble this whole time, and he wasn't that simple. When you kill him, and then you have a part where there's no violence, no action, you don't have any weapons to use, and you just walk through your old office. And apparently, I was watching the video and found out that they had the team that made this DLC was only 10 people, and they had to fight for that. Because originally they wanted to put like a boss fight and more stuff there. They had to fight to be like, no, you're just gonna walk through his office, no combat, no weapon, just walking, and they won it, of course.
And that's awesome.
And it's so powerful, like just the fact that you're just, because I was like, where's the enemy? Where's my gun? I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're just walking. So I just walked around, and you see all the different parts of his office, and then you finally see the computer, and next to where the computer is, you see a whole thing dedicated to his late wife. And I thought that was, and then that's kind of when you find out that he was trying to make the Thinker his wife. Is this when you find out that you're not who you think you are?
Before that,
so.
Okay.
As you're approaching, you start to realize, like for me, like it really held the surprise pretty well. And then towards the end, I'm like, okay, so I'm sure I'm gonna find out who I am as Subject Sigma. There's only 2 characters in this whole thing, really, and I'm like, am I Porter? So you come to learn that you are Porter and you've been guided by the Thinker. That's who, and the Thinker is using your voice because it's the voice it knows the best, which is a really, really cool. It's a very interesting idea. And like I said, you were going to go up with, like you guys said, once you've defeated Wall, which is a tricky battle. That's not,
it was not easy.
It's not easy. I mean, it's the second that you hit that button because the idea is that Wall, rather than give you the programming code to let you take it, decides to just blow the whole damn thing up, which would have effectively destroyed Rapture because that's the engine that keeps everything going. So he kind of like flips again, never understand why these things have self-destruct sequences. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's like building a car that says, make the wheels fall off. Boom. Why would you make the wheels fall off button? It doesn't ever make sense to me. Anyway, he sets the thing that makes it going to blow up. And it throws like 3 Big Daddies at you in a row. Like it throws 3 or 4 of them like right at your doorstep. And I know these are the alphas that are not too big a deal, but in mass, like a swarming, like a splicer, I got wrecked pretty hard a few times in this. But of course you prevail at the end. And yeah, you go into that awesome ending, which is just this beautiful little walk through his office. And you guys captured it perfectly. And he goes to the beta sphere and Tenenbaum is there. And I'm sure she's going to Big Daddy you once you get up there. And you have the programming code, and good things are ahead, I guess.
Because Tenenbaum's in BioShock 2, but she's only in it for that little part, right? If I remember correctly.
You only hear her. I don't even think you see her.
Oh, I think you were. You said something earlier, Mike, about the games coexisting with each other. I think there's a part in BioShock 2 where she's like, "Okay, I'm leaving. Bye." So maybe they do.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, they do coexist with each other.
Okay, so yeah, because it's early on that you see her in the first area through a window, then she takes some little sisters and leaves, and then you don't hear from her again, and then now we know she goes here and then leaves with Sigma.
Porter.
Oh. Yeah.
Same
Subject
difference,
Sigma,
but, yeah.
Porter, same guy.
So I want to rewind a little bit because we're talking
Sure.
about Bill talking about voice acting. I really think it's really interesting that when you find the tape of him talking about, oh, okay, computer, I want you to turn into Pearl, and the thinker does, and he goes, no, this isn't right, this isn't cool, I can't do this, and the computer's like, no, it's fine, I'm completely fine. He's like, no, I can't do this. You need to stop it like right now. And I actually think that's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, shades of morality in an immoral world, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really, really good, and that's what makes him such a nuanced, interesting character. He has a Randian. He came here to make something amazing, and realize that the world he's in is not so much, and to deal with his grief. Which I think it is very. We're talking about WandaVision, Mike and I think next week.
Yes.
So that's what that show is all about, which is great. It's good. I think it's really good, and it's very touching and beautiful. And the final shot of him, leaving in the bathysphere is. Or I think just the bathysphere closes and that's the end of it.
Yep. And you get a little picture of the armor off and then him at a gravesite.
Yeah, that's right, because it does give you that coda. Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm also really sure that's not how that works, because someone released a picture of like what Big Daddies look like, and they are just big pink meat men. Like, you don't
big. Go ahead.
You don't just take off the armor and be like, I'm okay. Like, especially because like in BioShock 1 and 2, they're big daddies for like a long time. So like someone was like, oh yeah, here's a concept art for what big daddies look like underneath their armor, and they're just big, like their heads formed to the helmets, just big pink meat men.
It's so funny. That's a good point. I honestly don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's a very good question. But I guess
you're right.
do anything
I
with Rapture
art.
magic. I guess I don't know.
Maybe because he's a different type of, Big Daddy, because he's not the ones from the first game. The Alpha series, they are a lot smaller. So maybe
that could be it.
Because there are the concept art that you're talking about, or at least the images that came up when I Googled, are only the Big Daddies from BioShock 1. There is nothing from 2 where it's half, like you can see the inside of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
It's just 1 has the really, really ugly stuff. It's like a deformed creature. So yeah, that's not something I need to see. Okay.
I'm not going to click on it.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's okay. I think sometimes when you with fiction like this, you have to kind of trade the realism for good moments. And I totally get it, Joe. I think that's actually a really good question. How that happened, but
also Tenenbaum, being the one that kind of helped create all this, she has a way to cure him or something. Plus, they did splice DNA and make things, so I can buy it.
I'm going to unsplice your DNA.
Don't mind me. It's going to take a few years to kind of very carefully undo the strands of connection between your DNA molecule. Yeah, Rapture science, splicing, hoobly goobly. It's fine. You kind of just have to. But I think it's actually a very good question, though. I totally dig that. Didn't even think of it. I was caught up in the emotional moment.
I really did like how you saw Tenenbaum though at the end, sitting in the bathroom waiting for you. I really did like that. I thought that was a really cool send off. Plus, just seeing her, I thought was cool because she wasn't really in BioShock 2. She played such a big part in BioShock 1.
Yeah, huge, right? And that's BioShock 2.
Minerveras Den.
Minerveras Den. I think it's really great. I'm glad I got to play through it. Somewhat. I got to play through it a little bit. I didn't go through the whole thing again, but
that's fine.
It's I think as far as DLCs goes, I mean, obviously, I think I posted this right after I played it back in September. What people think the best story-based DLC is? And most people pick like The Witcher and Red Dead Redemption and stuff like that. And I had this on the list and no one picked it. And I'm like, you know what? Someone's got to like this best. Come on.
People do. Like when you look up like lists, there's a lot of lists where this ends up being in the top. So a lot of people did like it. It's one of those DLC that, because whenever people talk about DLC, it was always this game people talk about as one of the best DLCs that ever came out. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, that's also, I had a lot of high hopes for this coming into, and it didn't help either. But
yeah. No, it's really an excellent DLC. It kind of does everything I think a DLC ought to do, which is, again, just kind of add new dimensions and flavors to the core game. It's confident in its core game. It says, I know this combat's good. We know the plasmids are fun. We know harvesting's fun for most people. Sorry, Joe.
Which
Yeah.
leads me up to
Go
a
for it.
separate question. Does the
Yeah, go for
ending
it.
not matter if you harvest little sisters?
No, there's
No,
only one ending.
Okay.
Huh.
They didn't do multiple endings in this game. They also reused all the assets, obviously. That's why it was such a small team, because they're like, here's everything we did in BioShock 2. Here you go.
Yeah, I think they literally reused so much stuff like for that reason, which is interesting. It's another thing, Joe. Yeah, it kind of undercuts the point of BioShock, which is that exploration of morality, where literally there's, I guess, I didn't even think of that. I guess there's no difference between killing, harvesting, and saving, huh?
Nope, I thought there would be, but there was not. I looked it up. So it doesn't matter how you play it.
Oh, well.
You just get more Adam if you don't harvest them. If you save them and then have them harvest the bodies, and then instead of just turning them into a leech like I did. Yeah. All right, and last thing I do want to say about this before we go to Shelf Stacker Box is the team that made this game went on to make Gone Home.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Because these guys were putting on BioShock Infinite, but they didn't like working on BioShock Infinite, so then they left, made their own studio. Some of them did, and made Gone Home.
They Fulbright, is that right? Fulbright
Fulbright
Studios?
Company, yeah.
Yeah.
I have never played Gone Home. I own it, but I have never played it yet.
Well, you and I may have to talk about it then for a certain other podcast.
Gladly.
That's a coming.
I need to play it, so.
That game sure is different.
I do love that game. Gone Home is such a beautiful expression of what a walking sim can do, which I don't like the term walking sim. I'll say it a bunch of times, but yeah, it's a very, very, very good game. Very beautiful game.
I like walking sim as a term, though, completely. I think it makes perfect. I don't think it's an insult. I think it makes perfect sense. But I understand where you're coming from. I don't want to be like,
In 90% of them, you do more than walk. Like walking sim implies that you're just like sashaying through a forest going, oh, that's pretty.
I don't see it that way. I see it more as walking sim being a game that doesn't have combat that you just experience.
I know it is supposed to.
But I get what you mean. I get 100%.
Not a great name. I know what it means. But yeah, anyway, it's
right,
fine. As a shorthand, it's fine.
Shelf Stacker Box. Bill, what about you?
Oh, this is a shelf. This is an easy shelf. Not to belabor my points that I belabor. It's a really just great addition to an already excellent game. And the combat's still fun. The additions are fun. I like the ion cannon. Gravity well, I didn't use very much, but none of it detract. And it does feature my favorite voice performance in BioShock. And it's got a very touching ending. It deals with grief in a sensitive way. And it's still just BioShock. Like it's just BioShock 2, just more of it, more areas, a new level. Yay, just give me that stuff. So easy shelf for me.
Okay. What about you, Joe?
I have to go with Shelf. It goes up there with BioShock 2, even though BioShock 2 is okay in my book. I like the DLC a little bit better. So, if you ever have a chance to play BioShock, it's like, man, I need something to help perk up my taste in this. It's like, oh yeah, the DLC is really good. So I'll put it on the shelf.
Okay. And I'll go last. I'm actually going to put this on the stack. I enjoyed it, but I didn't really I didn't get absorbed into it the way I should have. And again, my fault, as I've said many times this episode. I was rushing, but I did enjoy it. It is very good, and I also recommend that everyone should play it. Even if you listen to this, it's still cool. Hopefully you didn't listen to this after you already played it, but still, I highly recommend it. All right, and Bill, where can people find you at?
If you fancy another podcast to put into your pod player of choice, may I recommend A Gamer Looks at 40? It's kind of like an oral history of games as told through the people who lived it. Everyday people who played it. It's a collection of stories. Each episode is either a different topic or a different era. Just released, I don't know when this is coming out, time paradox.
I don't
as of this recording, as this recording is released, my walkthrough of the early days of PC gaming. So I got people talking about the PCs they own, the games they played on it. I have a Lucasfilm episode coming up. I have a Doom episode coming up. And it's just lots of different people, streamers and YouTubers and other podcasters and just family members and just people I found off the street. Hey, come here. Want to talk about Doom? Sure you do. It's a neat show. I also have a Patreon that just launched a few weeks ago. There's going to be 2 extra podcasts on my second tier, one of which Mr. Mike Albertin is going to be helping me with. One of them is about those random games our aunt found. I did not call games my aunt found, Mike, just so you know. My brother and I just going to talk about, those random weird games well-meaning family members got us, but didn't know our list. So they get us games like, Journey to Silius, which is actually a really good game, or like Tasmania.
I've never heard of, by the way.
Or NCAA basketball. I don't like basketball. I hate basketball. Why did you get me NCAA basketball? I don't know. I saw basketball. And the second one is a show all about walking sims. It's a walking sim. So every month we'll go through one walking sim, deep dive into it, because I love that genre of games. So anyway, Gamer Looks at 40 on Twitter if you fancy a listen.
All right. And if you enjoyed our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Half Fury, you will see her TikTok in the show notes. And if you do need more BioShock, as I said at the top of the show, BioShock 2, episode 143, BioShock 1, episode 126, definitely go listen to both of those. And we do also have a Patreon, so if you want to help us out, you will see a link in the show notes for our Patreon. We have a poll every month. I don't know what that is, but hey, go check it out and help us out. Little's a dollar. You can go vote in our monthly polls, and you get to affect an episode that comes out every month. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We're only audio, but we are on YouTube, so you can definitely go follow us there. I think that's everything I need to say, so we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.